Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending. We know your time is very valuable, so thank you for taking the time to listen to our webinar here this morning. I am Scott Gilpin with Producers XL, and I also have Scott Brewer with PXL on the line. And we are excited to have Darren Hawley and Justin Sharp from Cincinnati Life to discuss a little bit of their voluntary insurance program called the Worksite program. And so without further ado, Justin, I think you're up first, so go ahead.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Scott, and thanks everybody for allowing Darren and I to chat this morning a little bit more about Cincinnati's voluntary portfolio. It's one of Cincinnati's unique niches in the marketplace. And what we thought we would do this morning is kind of just give you guys a very high overview, 1,000-foot level view of kind of the need in the workplace, some unique features that really make Cincinnati Life's voluntary portfolio stand apart. And then I think what everybody kind of gets into, what everybody likes to see, the meat and potatoes, what products are available, what are the guaranteed issue guidelines, and who it's available for at the workplace. So with that being said, I'm going to share my screen really quick. I have a couple slides that I'm going to share. I'm not going to bore everybody with a thousand things, but what I think is important, in 2026, the ever changing employee benefits landscape, right? I think we see it, we feel it on a day-to-day basis at our own employers. That companies are cutting back on benefits. With the increasing cost of medical, dental, health, things like that, employers are really trying to find ways to offer additional benefits to their employees to help retain them, with really no cost to them. So I think we kind of keep that in one bucket. And then the other bucket, when we're talking on a day-to-day basis, we know that a large swath of the American populace has extensive health history, or things in their past that make it hard or impossible to get life insurance. One of the things Cincinnati's Worksite voluntary benefits, which we'll get into in a second, is guaranteed issue. And so when we talk about the parameters, there's really no health questions. There's no gatekeeping questions. So when we're talking to these employees, they're eligible for a certain amount based on their age. We also know that you, the agent, are finding ways to continually cross-serve your book of business, whether you're a person or a property casualty agent, a benefits agent, an RIA advisor. You're continually trying to find ways to cross-serve your book, help retain that business, and frankly, create additional revenue streams for you and your agent. And implementing Worksite into those accounts that you already work with, it's a warm lead and it's an easy opportunity to put one more line of business into that group, and really help increase the revenue for you and your agency. So I already mentioned Cincinnati's guaranteed issue. Okay. Essentially, what we look for at a group, when we're talking to employees, are we ask two questions. Okay. On the application. Do you work 20 hours or more a week? Because that is what makes an employee eligible for our voluntary benefits program. Okay. And if they've smoked cigarettes in the last 12 months, if they have, great. It's not a knockout. They're just going to get a smoking rate. I like to really hone in on that, because when Cincinnati says that we have guaranteed issue life insurance through this program, we really mean it. Besides those two questions on the application, we are not asking anything else about their health, anything else about their backgrounds, DUIs, criminal history, things like that. The rest of the application is squarely their demographic information, what plan they want to apply for, what amount, and who they want to name their beneficiaries. With that being said, a lot of carriers in the marketplace kind of keep that guaranteed issue as a contingency based on participation requirements. Something that Cincinnati really hangs our hat on is the fact that we do not require any participation requirements on a group. Okay. Um, if you go into a group and one person participates, we are going to honor that guaranteed issue that that employee purchases for them or their family. Now, with that being said, we do require all employees to be seen. Okay. I think that's really important. So, say we have a group of 15 employees. Okay. We are going to need to sit down, or whoever's doing the enrollment, with all 15 of those employees. And we're either going to sign up, we're going to have them sign an application, or we're going to have them sign a waiver of participation. Okay. So, even though we don't have a participation guideline, the participation of the process is mandatory. Okay. Something else that I get a lot of questions about is, well, how does this program compare to a group policy? Is this group life insurance? The easy answer is it's not. These are all individually owned and purchased policies at the workplace. Okay. So when an employee signs up, they're going to get a policy that is sent to their home. They are the owner. They get to name their beneficiaries. It's not a group master contract. They are ordinary policies that mirror Cincinnati Life's ordinary portfolio. And the nice thing about them is when that employee is working at that employer, premiums are paid via payroll deduction. So if they're paid weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, monthly, we show them exactly what's going to come out of their paycheck. So they know that it's going to be $6 every 2 weeks coming out of their paycheck. When that employee leaves that place of business, whether they retire, switch employers, they can keep the coverage. The only difference is instead of those premiums being payroll deducted, they're now going to pay Cincinnati directly, whether that's on EFT, direct bill, et cetera, et cetera. The policy does not change. It's a level policy. The premiums stay the same and the benefit stays the same. The other thing that makes this program really easy is all of our rates are gender neutral and they're smoker, non-smoker. So if you're familiar with Cincinnati, we qualify non-cigarette tobacco users as non-smokers. So in that blue to gray collar marketplace, folks that dip, chew, smoke cigars, Zyn, those are all considered non-smokers through this program. I'll get to it in a second, but there is a blend of products available as well. We have level term return of premium, and our guaranteed whole life. And when I show you these guaranteed issue guidelines, it's not we have to purchase all of one product. We can make a blend for that employee and their family to kind of mirror whatever their financial needs are. I've already touched on it, but adjacent to that group policy, these policies are not decreasing benefits. They're level policies. I know we see a lot of group benefits that, once you hit certain ages, whether it's 60, 65, 70, the benefit starts decreasing. Or if they're portable, the premium goes up. In this case, it's not either of those. The policies remain level throughout the duration of it being active. And then, kind of circling back to finding additional revenue streams for the agency. Our voluntary portfolio, commissions are a lot more competitive and more similar to an ordinarily underwritten individual life insurance policy compared to a group policy or, some of the ancillary benefits that are out on the marketplace as well. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen really quick, and I'm going to jump over to another document so we can kind of get into the nitty-gritty of everything. So bear with me 1 second. So we've kind of touched over the need. We've kind of touched over, what are the benefits for the employee, but really what's available to them, So we have level term insurance. So we have a 10 and 20-year level term. We have a 20-year return of premium policy that is very similar to our ordinarily underwritten return of premium product. The only difference being at the end of 20 years, instead of getting 100% of their base premiums back, they're going to get 80% of their base premiums back. And then we have two variations of our guaranteed whole life. We have pay to 100 and paid up at age 65. We kind of like to call that post-retirement insurance. No premiums are paid past 65, but the policy remains in force to 121. So what can an employee get? So you can see here that for the employee, the benefit, the guaranteed issue amount is kind of tiered. Okay. So if you have an employee between 18 and 50, they're eligible for $100,000 of coverage, no questions asked. Just do you work 20 hours or more a week, and have you smoked cigarettes in the last 12 months? Okay. If they're between 51 and 60, they're eligible for $75,000. And if they're between 61 and 70, they're eligible for $25,000. Okay. That could be all term. That could be a mix of term and permanent. Really whatever works for that employee's financial needs. Employees can purchase over the guaranteed issue guidelines that are available for their age. We just call that simplified issue underwriting. Basically, it's still non-medical. We're not going to order an APS. We just ask for the proposed insured's height and weight, 5-year basic medical history, and if they're on any prescriptions, things like that. It's still non-medical, and it's a yes or no. In those simplified issue situations, scenarios, we're never going to take away their guaranteed issue guidelines. So if you have a 61-year-old that's eligible for $25,000 of GI and they want to apply for 50, and our underwriting says, well, no, you can't have that via simplified issue, we're not going to take away the 25 guaranteed issue that they're eligible for, which I think is really powerful. For spouses, we have a couple ways that we can cover them. And I think another thing that kind of sticks Cincinnati out of the marketplace is an employee does not need to participate on themselves in order to purchase coverage on their family members. Okay. So let's look at the spouse. A spouse between the ages of 18 and 60, if they work 20 hours or more outside the home, is eligible for $15,000 of whole life coverage if the employee does not participate. Great. If the employee participates, they're eligible for $25,000 of guaranteed issue with those same guidelines. If you're talking to an employee and their spouse is over 60 or they're a stay-at-home parent, we can still cover them. It's just not going to be guaranteed issue. We have to answer those same simplified issue questions and have someone check a yes or no on them. And then I think the best part of this is there's a couple kind of ways to cover children. The most cost effective is the children's term rider, which can be put on the employee or the spouse's policy. And that is $1 a week. And it gives all children through age 18 $10,000 of coverage to their 25th birthday. At their 25th birthday, they can convert that up to 5 times the amount with no proof of insurability. So whether they have 1 child, 6 children, it's still $1 a week. And if an employee puts that on their policy or a spouse puts it on their policy, it automatically puts on any children that are not yet born either down the road. Also, children between 15 and 25 can do a $10,000 whole life policy, guaranteed issue, no questions asked. Employee does not need to participate. And then something that's a little bit interesting are for those college age type kids, 18 to 25, if they're not married, a full-time student, and not in the military, they can do $25,000 of term or ROP. And that is designed to help offset college loans, expenses, things like that. God forbid something happens. So what I always kind of like to say is, yes, it's, we're speaking to the employee when we're at the group, but there are numerous opportunities for that employee's family as well. And majority of them can be guaranteed issue too. So I think, as I kind of wrap up a little bit, the big highlights of this are the guaranteed issue, no health questions. When you're looking through your book of business, you have warm leads and warm opportunities um, to help cross serve that book. They're all individually owned policies that are fully portable. Um, it's a great opportunity to help increase revenue at your agency. And the last thing that I will add is what kind of industry, what kind of business group works the best? We do need 15 employees or more that work 20 hours or more a week. That's kind of what our minimum is for a viable group. Um, we prefer them to be W-2 employees. And typically it's a blue gray collar play. We have a lot of opportunity. We have a lot of success in the car dealerships, manufacturing, contracting, healthcare. So think like nursing homes, larger dental offices, doctors' offices. Um, think about anywhere that we can get in front of the employees. I know it's 2026 and we do a lot of things virtually now, but Cincinnati still has the most success going into these groups and sitting down with these employees in person, one on one, to talk to them about their needs and their families' needs. Think about that. Hopefully, this was beneficial. And, think about the groups that you work with. If you think of anything or have any questions, feel free to reach out to the Scotts at Producers XL. Darren and I work with them fairly closely. And any of us would be happy to get on a call, answer more questions, or talk about specifics. So thanks everyone for joining this morning. That's all I have prepared. Scott, I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah. Justin, can you hear me okay?
I sure can. Yep.
Perfect. One quick question. So if an agent has, let's say he's working with a couple, and let's just say the wife is uninsurable. She's 38 years old and she's uninsurable. So the agent could technically go to, let's say the husband works at a group.
Yep.
And he could go to that husband, is assuming that where he works is 15 or more employees. The agent would have to see all of those employees. But basically, even if his goal is to just get the insurance on that spouse or maybe just that couple, he can get it. He just has to go into the group and either speak to all employees and get the waiver or have somebody else sign up. But then he could really laser focus in on that husband and that uninsurable wife. Is that, can it be used that way?
Yes. Technically, yes. We do, Scott. I think that's a good question. We have found opportunities where, an agent has a relationship with a client that has health history, is uninsurable, and in finding out where they work. Yes, typically what we would do in that scenario is we would talk to the group, see if it's viable. If they have 15 employees or more, we would let them know kind of what Cincinnati's expectations are. We need to sit down with everybody. We need to be able to, market the program, do a group meeting, group presentation, do some education. Typically, we get 30% participation. So in a situation like that, getting that uninsurable employee or their spouse, if they're between 18 and 60 and they work 20 hours or more outside the home, you could certainly find coverage for them that way. And you're probably going to get more business too, because of the participation in our history that we typically receive at a group, if that answers your question.
Sure. Yes, it does. So one last question on my end. If the agent says, hey, I would like to entertain this or go down this road, does the agent have to be the one who goes in and does the enrollment and the education and the speaking, or does Cincinnati Life, can they or will they do anything in regards to the enrollment process, where the agent is still involved, the agent still gets a commission, but is any of it on your end, or does the agent have to be educated enough to go in and do the enrollment and sign the waivers and et cetera?
No, that's a great question. And the answer is really what the agent prefers. If if a writing agent has back history in the voluntary space, and it's something that they do and they're going to continue to do, sure, we can make sure they have the resources and the training to go in and be successful and do it on their own. But for those one-off cases, or for the agents that don't focus in this market but see the benefit in offering this to the groups that they work with, absolutely. Cincinnati has an entire enrollment team that we can pair up with the producer as an extension of their office and go out, work with the group, set up the parameters, do the group meetings, do the enrollment, get the policies issued. They're all, what I think is important is all of Cincinnati's enrollment teams are all salaried employees at Cincinnati. So they're not working on overrides. They're not taking a cut of the business. They are just truly an extension of you to go out and have to make a group as successful as possible. In those scenarios, however, when Cincinnati does assist in the enrollment, there is a 50-50 premium split. And that is just helped to design to help offset our operations costs, travel expenses, and things like that.
Did you mean commission split?
It's premium split. We still pay full comp
Oh,
on the half of the premium.
okay. So same thing. Just
Same thing. Yep. Great question.
okay. So essentially, if anybody listening has any groups or people that you think that might benefit from this, basically you can start with Scott or I, and then we can work with Cincinnati Life to get you the resources or to get you numbers to take you down the next steps. So I think that's the only question I had. I don't think I have any other questions on the webinar. Scott, if you have anything.
Yeah, just to clarify, this isn't for white collar employees only. This is for all the employees as long as you have 15, right?
Correct. Yep. And actually, our most success in this market is definitely the blue gray collar marketplace. Typically that underserved market, where an employee coming and buying a $40,000 whole life policy is the only insurance that they might have in force.
Okay. And then if an agent does want to write something like this, would they have to be contracted before they even could take the applications? How does the application process work, I guess?
Yeah.
And
So just Cincinnati, no, great question. No, so Cincinnati is a just-in-time contracting carrier. So if there's an opportunity, we would need them contracted to take an application beforehand. I think there is a 15-day solicitation window, but just to be careful, I'd like to get them a writing code before the actual enrollment took place. Pennsylvania is our only pre-appointment state.
yeah.
So unless it is a group in Pennsylvania, we're just in time.
Okay.
And then as far as the actual application goes, I did fail to mention this, but since it's guaranteed issue, coverage is effective the day that they take the application, regardless of when we start those premium deductions. So as soon as they sign that application, if they're within the guaranteed issue guidelines, coverage is in effect the moment they sign and step away from that office.
Okay. Got it. And then if you have an app that switches to simplified issue from the guaranteed issue, would that be like a phone interview that they would do the other questions, or how does that part work?
Nope, it's all baked into the application. So the guaranteed issue part of the application is like a page and a half. Okay. If it switches to simplified issue, there's a supplemental form on that next page that has the height, weight, doctor's information, 5-year medical history,
Okay.
sign it, date it. And essentially an underwriter is going to review it and they're either going to say yes or no. So there's no additional phone interview. It's still non-medical. We're not ordering an APS. In an off chance you may get something that says can you further explain this health history or this medication, things like that. But simplified issue, we can typically get approved up to about a substandard table 4, so 2 to 3 health ailments depending on their severity. But it's yes or no. If it's no, we're always going to revert back to what they're eligible for in the guaranteed issue space. And we'll come back and say, Mr. or Mrs. Agent, Justin Sharp was not able to get $100,000 of GI, but he's eligible for 75,000 GI. Do you want us to proceed with issue?
Okay. That's all the questions I had. I like this product, so
Yep.
pretty unique. Definitely.
Okay. Well, if there are no other questions or comments,
I have a couple quick things.
Go ahead,
Scott.
Darren, please.
Just a couple highlights what I've seen with agents using this product in the process. One is there is no perfect time to do it. Many agents will think we have to wait till their open enrollment of benefits or in the fall or a certain time when that business renews their benefits. And we find it works best when it's off the benefit cycle, just a standalone at one time where we focus on this, we can get it done and move on. Many times when you layer it with all their benefits, it gets kind of lost in the shuffle and just too overwhelming for those individuals to make a good decision based on that. So you don't have to wait till an open enrollment period. In fact, it's better if you don't. The other thing that I wanted to add too is that remember, any of you listening to this has a business, your agency, and you qualify as an agency to participate yourselves with this. And any contracted agency with Cincinnati Life will waive the 15 minimum requirement. So if you want to offer additional benefit in your agency yourself, hey, this is a perfect way to start. Experience the process yourself. You walk through everything just like a customer would. Get some coverage possibly for your employees that maybe can't get coverage. And now you've experienced what it is, and now you can see the value in taking it to your business clients. So if you have any questions on that, again, reach out to any of us on the call.
Yep.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, Darren, because I completely forgot about that key fact, and that is an important one, because not only does the agent and the agency get some experience with working with the product, but obviously they get the benefit of the insurance, and it doesn't have to be a 15 minimum. So yeah, thank you very much for bringing that up.
Yep.
I completely spaced that out. So
yeah,
perfect.
Definitely.
Okay, well, if there's not if there are no more questions or comments, then I guess we're going to wrap it up. So Darren and Justin, thank you so much for being on the call, and all of you agents listening, I appreciate your time, and have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you.